Hey guys, Jason Balin at Hard Money Bankers, Chris Haddon at Hard Money Bankers with your private lenders podcast. Thanks for joining us today. So we're in an ever-changing spot with the private lending market, and we're both guessing that this is going to continue to change day by day, week by week, month by month. You know, things are just very, 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 very different. So this whole episode is about playing offense and defense. It's a term that Chris and I have used in the past, but I think now more than ever, you got to be playing offense and defense kind of at the same time. And what do I mean by that? You got to manage your existing loan portfolio to make sure all of those loans stay in performance. You get monthly payments. You spend time with your private capital investors, but at the same time, we got to be writing new loans. You got to play offense. You got to be doing deals. If you're playing defense all day and you're just managing your existing portfolio, it's going to be tough to continue to weather this storm as things change if you're not writing new loans. And in our opinion, you know, a loan that you wrote today is probably better than a loan you wrote 30 days ago because we're all adjusting our underwriting guidelines and making sure we're writing smarter loans.
Yeah, for sure. Like there have been a lot of pros and cons that we've been talking about. We've been very active about talking about the good things that will come of this situation. And some of that, like we've mentioned in a couple different areas of the Hard Money Mastermind, a couple different content pieces, is that most of our competition disappeared because they all had Wall Street money and they disappeared about 3 weeks ago with everything going on in the stock market. Long story short, they got their funding pulled. And companies like your Peer Street and Torak and other ones like that, I don't know, like obviously I'm not part of those companies. I don't have all the exact information, but it appears like they're not lending anymore and made that public a few weeks ago. So being private lenders with private capital means there's a lot of opportunities out there right now. And it honestly reminds me of 2008 when we started. So I want to talk about some of the differences between then and now, just here as we're getting started. So we actually got started in late 2007, started setting things up, getting some leads in, getting our stuff together, closed our first loan in December of 2007. And then like everything was crashing, like everything was going down, down, down. Granted, it was a different situation. It wasn't a virus pandemic. It was a real estate and financial and banking system collapse. And the real estate market, the residential real estate market was a big part of the problem in that one. So when we were starting, like the difference between us and our competition, like one, we were raising capital. We didn't have much capital and we had to put it together on the fly. We did have a lot of opportunity because again, in that time frame, a lot of the competition disappeared because they took hits, maybe lost whatever funding they had, or maybe they had bad stuff going on in the portfolio and took hits that way because they got overly aggressive when the market was hot. So there's a lot of opportunity when we started there and we had to put together the capital, but we did not have the outstanding portfolio. We had just started and our loans were starting at the bottom. So that's a difference for us between then and now, is that now we have both, more of both. Obviously, we have a 200 plus loan portfolio that's going to see more delinquencies than normal. It's going to see more delays in construction jobs than normal. And we will have more workouts than we're used to. And that's just the reality of it. How bad is it going to get? We don't know yet. We don't know where the market's going. And on the other side, we have a lot of good loans to look at because there aren't that many lenders out there. And there are great borrowers who can't find money, which feels a lot like 2008, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like I remember our loan quotes back then, we knew that they were overly conservative, but we had to make it that way in order to raise capital. We had to do super.
That's right.
So yeah, do you remember? I mean, we would do low LTV deals to strong borrowers and use cross collateral. Like we could just ask for whatever we wanted.
Yep. Everybody had good credit. It was strong collateral. We were lending out at 15-5, which is today at 13-3. And we're continuing to keep everything at 13-3 for now. But that's what happens with it. And you got to be cautious. And I think if you're a newer hard money lender or somebody who's a little bit nervous or doesn't have unlimited capital at their disposal to do whatever they want with, it's all about the deal. It's a strong deal. I mean, I'm sure you've watched a lot of our previous videos that we've been doing about raising capital strategies. And you need a strong deal and you need that bait in order to bring an investor in, especially if it's at the beginning and they understand the game and they understand it. A quick story related to our buddy who's a capital investor of ours and also lends out his own money. He reached out. He's like, I'm on pause. I'm out. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm nervous. We're like, what do you mean you're out? Like, this could potentially be the best time right now. And and I was like, so you're telling me if one of your borrowers came to you and was looking for $400,000, they're buying a property for 400,000 and they need 100 grand from you, you wouldn't do it? He was like, well, of course I would do it. And I was like, well, you're not out of the game. Those deals could exist. Those deals do exist. Just because, a lot of investors think that you're going to underwrite deals, you're going to structure your deals that you did 30 days ago. And 30 days ago, those deals were all fine deals and they were great. And they were great deals. But now people are cutting back and being more conservative, and everyone here needs to be doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. So there's no reason to be out of the game. Like if people are watching and they're nervous about how to lend or whatever, like the reality is you can't do the loans that you were quoting 6 months ago. It would not be smart. We're quoting loans going into a down market. We don't know how bad it's going to be, like this summer, later this year. A couple thoughts on that. One, the unemployment rate that's going to happen, the unemployment rate that has already started, the past couple of weeks, just millions and millions of unemployment filings, is going to continue to rise. How is that? I'm specifically thinking about that economic part of the situation. How is that going to affect residential real estate? A little soon to say. I mean, granted, compared to other aspects of the market, commercial real estate, stocks, stuff like that, residential real estate, I think is going to be as strong as anything else. But in a situation like this, everything is going to take some kind of hit because it's going to be a recession and we're going to have high unemployment. And
go ahead.
And yeah, we're in essence writing loans going into a down market for the first time. We've been lending for 12, 13 years, and it was always either, going up or like kind of stable. So we're writing loans going into a down market, and we have to do it in the right way. And it's doable. And the people at the top of the industry always come out on top. You know what else I've noticed? I'm about to jump into something here, but something occurred to me is that so I work with our capital investors very closely. I've been doing investor relations since day one at HMD. And we've known these people for a decade plus, and I know them well. And a lot of them, well, let's just talk about the most savvy. We have a few whales, like 7-figure plus guys with us, and they're sharp in every aspect of business, and real estate and finance and everything else. Right now, those guys have the most appetite. Those sharks have the most appetite for deals, strong deals that we can deploy money into going into this market, because they know that there's good money to be made when there's turmoil out there. And a lot of the B and C players aren't much of a factor. And so the A players come in and gobble everything up. Like I've been watching that attitude about them. And it's really interesting to see, because like I said, like we were in a very different position in the last economic downturn, very different position professionally in our business. So yeah, I mean, there's deals to be done, and go ahead. Jump in.
I mean, a few things on that. I mean, number one, they number one with that, they want to deploy capital, and they're not sure where else to put capital because it's either cash or private loans or something that's stable and smaller than private lending, perfect for that, right? So that's part of it. They also realize there's a lot of opportunity there, and they know, just like we do, that yesterday we might have written a loan for 130, and now we're writing that loan at 100 or 110. It's a no-brainer. It's stronger. Everyone's playing kind of offense on that stuff. When other people, other lenders, institutional lenders are out of the game and roll out, there's so much opportunity to do that if you have the right private capital. And we talked about this earlier. Like, it might be a little bit harder to raise capital if you don't have existing relationships right now. But the best / only way to do that is make sure you have a home run opportunity. If you have a deal, let's say a buyer buys it for $200,000 and they need a bridge loan for $100,000. They put up 100, you put 100. That's a strong deal, and they're smart and they know what they're doing. They have good character, and it's a good piece of collateral. That's a deal that you can approach a savvy real estate or private lender that has capital, and they'll understand that deal and be like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. I'm gonna make that work. Yes, the market's changing. Yes, who knows what's going to happen with that unemployment. And honestly and obviously, different areas of the country will get affected differently, depending on where you're located. But at the same time, a lot of people don't realize that on the surface, it doesn't look like real estate's been affected as much yet, and it hasn't, because obviously there's not enough pain in the marketplace. April 1st was a big date for a lot of people. It was a big date for lenders collecting payments. It was a big date for landlords collecting rents. It was a big day for a lot of people to see where things were. And honestly, everything for the most part that everyone I've talked to has been okay. There hasn't been too many delinquencies on both of those ends. But as April 1st turns into May 1st and then June 1st, those numbers will continue to increase. And then eventually it'll be more pain. And as there's more pain in the marketplace, more people want to unload properties, or the real estate market softens and things like that. So those are all things to keep in mind. And the guess is that like in the fall, the real estate market will not necessarily be in trouble, but you'll be able to see more drastic changes. Now, stuff that we've talked about, which I think is important, is staying inside the median housing price neighborhoods. If you're inside the median housing price neighborhoods, usually they don't get affected as much as the higher end stuff, condos, lower end stuff, things like that. Those are usually where most first time home buyers and regular homeowners that want to buy their second or third house are safer. New construction's tough, things like that. The one other thing that we didn't mention is, I'm sure everybody saw that press release from Chase, and I'm sure a lot of other banks are going to do the same, that they're requiring higher credit standards to get loans, 20% down and 700 plus credit scores. So those are going to be important kind of moving forward. And that's probably the industry norm. I don't blame them for that. I don't even think it's unrealistic for them to do that. In general, we've always been in an environment where lending is somewhat too easy. And again, that helps all of us. So I don't want to say I'm against it. It does help all of us. It helps first-time home buyers sell their flips. It helps rental property owners take out our loans that we do short-term bridge loans on. But at the same time, I understand why they do it, and it's realistic. And again, we have to adjust to it. Now, the good part is nothing's tanking overnight, right? The good part is we're getting a warning. The sign is on the wall that this is going to occur. That being said, cut back your underwriting. And the best part about all of this right now is that all of these borrowers I talk to 1,000 new inquiries 1,000 leads every month, right? And every single person I talk to, I forewarn them, and we've trained our consulting clients and our partners in other offices the same way. I was like, upfront, tell them, good news, we're actively lending. Yes, we're a little bit more conservative, but we're still actively lending, happy to help you out. So all of a sudden, if you drop a bomb that you're only lending 50 LTV, they already know you're going to be, you're cutting back a little bit. So
that's the right.
So, and it works fine. And we've been doing a lot of really, really strong deals, and outsiders looking in, including our private capital investors, like, wow, these deals are really, really strong. Now, obviously, that goes back to the marketing engine, and we have to all consider ourselves marketers and making sure we're getting lots of opportunities. But the good opportunities will get funded. It's that simple.
Yeah, no, I totally believe that. And this is
what. Go ahead.
What would you have in mind next? I was also thinking about the concept of a stress test that Ian was talking about.
Yeah.
In a number of different ways. Like a down market like this is going to be a stress test on every aspect of your business, even like marketing and everything else. So everything gets more difficult when it's on its way down. And again, like I was saying before, like the top guys in whatever niche it might be are going to come out on top, because that's just how things go. So like if you have been cultivating relationships with your capital investors for a long time, strong relationships, working with them, taking care of what they need, those relationships are going to remain strong in the down market. If you have been growing your database of potential borrowers and real estate investors for a long time, that is going to come in handy now. If you have been communicating with these people and say that, 95% of them have never borrowed from you, or maybe they did in the past and they don't anymore. If you have been staying in front of these people and building and cultivating this database, it's going to come back around in terms of, if you can still lend, you're going to get all these people back. Like we're lending to super strong borrowers that maybe we knew in the past and maybe we didn't. They didn't come to us for money. They thought we were too expensive. They could get the institutional, all good. But they know exactly who we are and what we do. Right.
Again, and I'm not saying that we're doing tons and tons of deals. Our entire model right now is we're trying to do about 60 to 75% of the deals right now that we get that work. And the reason why, it's all about supply and demand. Like I believe if someone's very, very capitalized right now and wanted to be greedy, they can do tons and tons of deals. I don't believe that's the play. So we created a metrics that our goal is, we're used to doing about 20, 25 loans a month. Our goal is to do about 12 to 15 loans a month right now, just to kind of weather the storm and see where things go. And the way that we judge that is straight supply and demand. If, for instance, based on our metrics, if we were able to do 30 deals right now, that means we're way too conservative or way too aggressive. If we weren't able to do any loans right now, that means, we were too conservative and we'd have to shut that off. So we're in the middle right now to be able to close about 3 deals a week, because that's where our game plan is, about 3 deals a week, and it's working. And in the future, we'll see, we'll readjust, but we're trying to cherry pick the best 3 deals that we can. So why don't maybe do you want to just dive in real quick, just a few things related to managing the existing portfolio with what we're telling borrowers and lenders, educating some of our lenders.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to jump in afterwards with some tips that we're doing right now to get as much deal flow as possible.
Okay. Yeah. So this is, again, this is a work in progress, because this is the first for us, like going into a down market and having to do workouts. I mean, obviously we've had plenty of defaults in the past and workouts and everything else and delinquencies. Like that's just part of having a loan portfolio, but the percentage of those increasing is something that's new, and people actively reaching out to us asking if they can not make their payments for a while is very new. So let's talk about a couple aspects of it. Number one, we are proactively communicating with our borrower clients to see if their construction jobs are stalled or moving along, because different jurisdictions are different, and if they can continue to make their payments. If they can make their payments, they need to make their payments. None of this is being waived. If they maybe some people got laid off, or their job is totally stalled, or they're out of money or something like that, and they say, look, I cannot make this payment, then we're going to have to, it's our responsibility to work something out, collect it later. Maybe it's default interest, maybe it's not. We don't 100% know how this is going to play out yet, of course. The best we can do right now is have a super high level of communication with everyone involved, just so we know what's going on and what to do. Like, if people get a couple months behind, are we pulling the trigger on a default attorney letter right away? Or not? Like, we got to figure some of this stuff out, and that's going to be a work in progress. At the same time, it's the exact same messaging with our capital investors, and I've been talking to them by email and by phone frequently. Another thing that's important about our system is a lot of communication with them. So even when it comes to the weekly interest payments that we send out to them, it's like we're touching them a lot via email, even if it's not just picking up the phone. And they get different notices, and they get statements, and then they get a custom letter from me. And then, I speak to a number of them. So they're getting touched in a number of different ways, and they know that we're here. They know that we're working on it. They know we're going to have some delinquencies and headaches. And they also know that we have good new opportunities on the origination side, and everyone's on the same page. It's just high level of communication. We're going to get through this together. And also the part about, like, you can't have too many eggs in one basket. I mean, some of these, we haven't had this yet, but you could see people getting nervous about lending right now and potentially being like, I don't want to put my money into hard money right now. You could see that. And that's why you can't have too many eggs in one basket. Like the guys getting institutional money did. They all getting their capital from just a couple sources, and those sources were basically identical, and they disappeared. Then they can't lend. Their business is over. And if we had, like, even on the private capital side, say we had a very wealthy family office fund 80% of our portfolio or something like that, and they pulled out, we'd be screwed, right? Yeah. So that's why we've always made a very conscious effort to spread out our capital to a number of different people and groups, because people might be in different positions. They might have different ideas. Like, so we have a little insulation in that regard. And granted, no one's pulling out yet, and I think we should be fine. And a lot of that does go back to the relationships that we've been cultivating for so long. It comes to fruition. Yep. Like that. All those efforts pay off now. All those, steaks at Morton's and, bottles of wine that you buy and like little excursions that you go on help strengthen that relationship for when stuff goes down.
Yeah. And also keep in mind, we've had a solid track record for a long time with the same investors over and over that made really, really good returns. And, I'll never forget, there's so many times where we, let's just say, considered cheaper capital, different sources of capital, things like that. And, you look back and be like, I'm glad we didn't do that, because that would have run into problems. It's very easy as an outsider to be like, hey, you're lending out a note rate -3. So these investors are getting 10%. That's high. Can't you get 6, 7, 8%? You guys make more money. And it's, yeah, we could, but we also look at our capital sources as partners, and we have a relationship with them, and they're going to be in it during the good times and the bad times, and that's part of it. And you don't just take on any capital investor who's got capital that they want to give you. I mean, over the years, we've had to cut ties with some of our lenders because our goals weren't aligned with things. And if a lender is just looking for a high rate of return and, hey, just pay me, and I'll leave you alone, you leave me alone, That doesn't work. You're looking for somebody that you are literally partners with and at the hip with. And, as things go, potentially could go bad, that's when that partner really brings value, not when everything is good. So let's go through a few tips real quick of what we're doing kind of on the front lines. I mean, right now, you got to be on the front lines trying to get every opportunity that we can. I mean, we talk about it all the time, but if you're a company and you get 10 leads a month or 10 leads a week and you need to close one deal a week, your odds aren't very good. They're just not. A 10% close, conversion ratio is just not good. Everyone's going to pick the best deals that they can get based on the pool of opportunities that they have. And that's in any business or in any investment vehicle that you're investing in. Whatever the best deals are that you can get your hands on, you're going to do. So you need to obviously market, and get in front of everybody you can to have the best of the best of the best of the best opportunities. That's the reason why, we're doing loans at $150,000 and the borrowers are bringing $70,000, $80,000 to the table and have good credit. That's the reason why someone buys a property for $400,000 and needs a bridge loan from us for $150,000, and we'll do it. I'm not saying that, other lenders aren't looking at those deals, but they're not looking at them in the volume that we are. And that's what it's about. The marketing machine. Chris interviewed a big real estate agent in Philadelphia about a year ago, and I'll never forget. He was like, when the market goes down, this is when I go all in with spending money and marketing, staying in front of everybody because everyone else is out of the game. Our Google AdWords costs are going down. Our Facebook ad costs are going down. People aren't marketing for these types of deals and opportunities anymore. Our games are going up. We're upping budgets on places. But even if you don't want to spend money on some of the marketing, even though you probably should right now if it's not in the budget, most of the stuff we're doing are content-driven value adds like this, and a lot of other podcasts that we're doing. We're teaming up with other local real estate investors, and with a straight purpose of doing joint shows with them, because then we can get in front of their audiences and their audience and their audience and bringing other experts in. And all of a sudden, we're trying to blanket ourselves all over the local community, so everything filters back to Hard Money Bankers. That's where it is. So whatever your lending operation is, it's all about deals. All about good deal flows. I mean, we learned that from day one. When we started Hard Money Bankers in 2007, we thought it was going to be easy because we knew all these brokers and real estate investors and real estate agents. And we thought, oh yeah, now we just need to go find capital. Well, guess what every single capital investor told us? Yeah, well, if you have good deals, I'm happy to fund them. All wealthy, rich people are looking for opportunities to deploy their capital. And that's what they need help with. So if you have a good deal and a good opportunity, you will get your deal funded. It's that simple. So spend the time right now. Obviously, you got to be playing offense on capital as well. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, go all in and find opportunities, deal after deal after deal after deal. That's where it's at. Do whatever you can to get in front of your audience. If you don't have a big email list, now's the time to grow an email list. If you don't have a social media following, now's your time to grow your social media following. Most people are somewhat at home anyways with less transactional work to do. So now's the time to play offense.
100%. And, I was thinking about that the other day. I mean, you guys hear this from us constantly, because when the market was down, it was all about deal flow. When the market was going up, it was all about deal flow. When the market's going down, it's just always the case. And, I was we were speaking to a few private lenders on a group call the other day, just checking in on the market and stuff. And I noticed one guy said this thing, kind of the real estate agents used to say back in the day. I used to hear, but this private lender goes, oh yeah, because, guys, I don't do anything. I don't do any marketing at all. I'm all by referral.
Okay.
And
exactly.
I'm like,
I heard that too.
So you just admit that you suck at half the game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a badge of honor, guys. That's not a badge of honor. That's just saying that I'm not good at a lot of this business.
Yeah. So he's going to have to deal with whatever leftover deals that he can get. And don't get me wrong, you can do deals on that. There's deals out there, but I want to do the best of the best deal. For instance, if you're a private lender, you have $100,000 and someone comes to you and says, hey, I'm buying a property for 200. Will you give me 100? And then the next person comes to you and you're like, oh shoot, this is a home run deal. The next person comes to you and says, hey, I've got 200 that, I'm buying it for 200. Will you give me 50? It's like, oh, well, now that's a stronger deal. You got to attract the strongest deals. And so many people think they're doing strong deals. It's I've heard a lot of private lenders recently being like, hey, hold on, we got some comments. Nothing too crazy on it, but it just says Facebook user because he's not authenticated. Okay, it's weird posting to a group. Anyways, shoot, I lost my train of thought. I've heard a lot of people say, yeah, I'm doing strong deals. I'm like, well, what are your deals? He's like, well, I was at 70 LTV, now I'm at 65 LTV, and they were only bringing 10% to the table. Now they're bringing 20% to the table. Well, let me tell you straight, like that is not enough. That deal goes sideways, you will be in trouble. Over the last 13 years, our max LTV has always been 65% LTV. And let me tell you, if deals start going sideways, they go sideways, and we're scraping by to get principal back. And we have 35% real equity margins in those deals, and the numbers still end up being tight. It's that simple. So again, reevaluate your business, make sure you're finding good deals, and if you have good opportunities, you'll get those deals funded. If you don't have the private capital, find someone else locally in your market, maybe just a hard money lender. Worst case scenario, you broker a deal to them. That's worst case scenario. But use this opportunity right now to get in front of your audience and to really find some really, really good deals to solidify capital with.
Yeah, and I would say the same thing on the capital side. Even if you don't have those relationships in place with private capital, now's the time to start cultivating that. Now's the time to start building it. Now it's the time to start putting the message out there to potential investors that, hey, when this thing shakes out, there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and stay constant with that communication about that. There's going to be a lot of opportunity for private lenders when this thing shakes out a bit, and for years to come after that until it turns into a hot market again.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because I'm willing to bet that if it's a newer investor you have a meeting with, they're the first question they're going to ask is, are you still lending? Like, I thought everybody isn't lending anymore. Like, why are you, how are you guys still lending? And you look them in their eyes with confidence and say, of course I'm lending. It's a better time to lend now than it was 30 days ago. The opportunities that we're getting are great. And we're cherry picking the best of the best of the best deals. And you explain that to them, and then you show them an example deal flow of something you would do, even if you haven't done a deal like this in the past. And all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, like I didn't realize, fine, I'm in. Like, this is a good time on both sides. Be optimistic, but obviously be cautious, and you got to be smart about it. Nobody's out there saying, hey, lend on dumb deals. And they're hard to find good deals. They're out there, but you want to try to find the best of the best ones.
100%.
All right, guys. Hope you guys followed along and had fun on this Private Lenders podcast, and we will see everybody next week.